Hey there, and welcome to Play Noggin. I'm Julian, your brain's player 2. Very few games have captured the feeling of being a superhero like Batman Arkham Asylum. It came seemingly out of nowhere, and like Christopher Nolan's Batman movies, dared to suggest that an adaptation of a comic book doesn't necessarily have to be hokey or involve bat shark repellent in any way. Batman has fought tirelessly over the years to clean up the streets of Gotham. Not very effectively, of course, since the criminals keep coming back, but that's the chance you take when you adopt a heroic no-kill policy. Every time a criminal mastermind like the Joker or Poison Ivy or the Riddler breaks out of Arkham, Batman swoops down and kicks some baddie butt to put them right back in. Unfortunately, one thing that Batman might not be considering is how much their time in Arkham Asylum is causing these supercriminals to descend even deeper into madness. Why? A lack of socialization. Arkham is big on solitary confinement, and to be fair, I kind of get that. When you're dealing with the world's worst, sometimes superhuman criminals, it's better to keep them away from each other so they don't hatch some sort of multi-villain super scheme that ends up being horrible. Oh, now I'm thinking of Suicide Squad and I'm depressed again. But studies have shown what most of us probably understood instinctively. No, not that we should give up on the DC cinematic universe, that humans are social creatures, and when deprived of social interactions, we suffer the consequences. Spoiler alert, solitary confinement is not good. Prisoners in isolation only account for 5% of the total prison population, but they account for 50% of the total prison suicides. Even for those not driven to that extreme, there are other consequences: anger, anxiety, and hallucinations. Maybe that's where Scarecrow gets his ideas. We see it in Arkham Asylum, with Batman experiencing a series of strange, acid-trippy dreams. Those inmates forced into isolation for long periods of time have similar experiences. People have reported seeing flashing lights even in utter darkness, strange lines or shapes appearing in midair, even armies of squirrels marching with knapsacks, and eyeglasses floating down a road. Weird stuff. Why does this happen? Cognitive psychologists theorize that the parts of your brain that process visual information and other normal, everyday tasks are used to doing it, and in the absence of stimuli, the systems of nerves that give the brain that info are still working. Unfortunately, since no information is going in, the stuff that they output is essentially nonsense. Our brains desire nothing more than to create order out of chaos, so they take the nonsense and try and force it to make some sort of sense. But with so little to go on, it ends up looking bonkers. Extreme isolation also takes a toll on you physically, and not in a cool way. It won't turn you into Killer Croc or give you the power to control plants. People that go for long periods of time without social interaction are more likely to develop chronic inflammation. Now, acute or short-term inflammation is necessary to heal the body. You get a cut and the affected area becomes inflamed. That's because your body is sending plasmids and leukocytes to the cut to help it heal and fight off infection. But when inflammation becomes chronic, it's like a spigot you can't turn off. The body stays inflamed, which can lead to problems like your white blood cells attacking organs or other necessary tissues. Additionally, a 2006 study found that women with breast cancer were 5 times more likely to die if they had very limited interaction with others. Then there are the consequences that come when those in solitary confinement eventually make their way back out into the world. And this is the part where Arkham's doctors, and I use that term loosely, should pay attention. It's hard enough for a long-term prisoner to adjust to the outside world, but a prisoner who has spent much of their time in extreme isolation, it's like relearning how to live all over again. And in their delicate situation, that's a dangerous proposition. Going from extreme isolation straight into the outside world with no transition period would be difficult for anyone. And the strange thing is, it seems that most prisons in the US don't even keep track of how many prisoners are released this way. But an NPR study of 24 states estimates more than 10,000 inmates experienced this in 2014. On top of that, most former solitary prisoners are released without supervision. 63% are put out on the streets without parole. That's because they've maxed out their sentence and so are no longer bound by the parole system. The people who need the most support are left without it. They don't know how to react in social situations and can't handle being close to people. They damage relationships with the people closest to them. They experience panic attacks and avoid crowds. Re-entering the workforce is incredibly difficult. A study in Texas showed more than 60% of them end up back in prison within 3 years, compared to other prisoners who return to prison at a rate of just 49%, which is still not great. I just can't help but think, criminals or not, they deserve better. Batman is an awesome hero, super good at martial arts with an unbreakable moral code, and those wonderful gadgets and gizmos, right? But can we really say that Batman is looking out for the best interests of Gotham's citizens? By sending supervillains through the rotating door of isolation in Arkham Asylum, he seems to be amplifying the problem. Supervillains with pre-existing mental illnesses are punished by a process that worsens their mental illnesses, until they are inevitably released or escape, at which point they're caught by Batman again and the whole thing starts all over. It's a vicious cycle. Maybe that's why it started on an island with Arkham Asylum in the first game and ended with the entire city of Gotham being overrun by unstable convicts by the final chapter. Do you think Warner Brothers Games knew that, or they just wanted to give us a chance to use a sweet Batmobile? I'm going with sweet Batmobile. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe because, like Batman, the hits just keep on coming. Interested in social issues more than time travel and brain parasites? Check out our video on what it takes to keep a country's borders safe here. And don't forget to keep on playing. The government has designated 100 miles around the border as the border zone, and that includes the coast. Considering about 200 million Americans live within 100 miles of a border, that's a lot of potential people who could be stopped and asked for their papers, please.